Welcome to everybody that's here in attendance and those in the gallery. It's Monday, August the 12th at 7 p.m. And this is a regular meeting of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask if there are any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Okay, seeing none. I'm sure you've had a chance to read through and review the minutes of the previous meeting from July 15th. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council held on July 15th be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move into our delegations and timed events. We have a recommendation that council convene as a committee of adjustment at 7:01 p.m. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. The purpose of the following committee of adjustment and public meeting is to give council, the committee of adjustment, and the general public an opportunity to hear all interested parties with respect to the applications being heard this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. In respect to the Committee of Adjustment applications, only the applicant or a public body can appeal a Committee of Adjustment decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This must be filed within 20 days from the date of decision. In respect to the public meeting applications, if a person or public body does not speak to the application at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the council decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal or be added as a party to an appeal of the decision to the tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to the clerk. Okay, the first application for a minor variance is A032024, and I'll now turn it over to our planner, Erin Besh.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Get my location up here. Okay, so the purpose of minor variance application A03-2024 is to seek relief from the township zoning bylaw to permit a front yard depth of 12 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback of 30 meters in the general agricultural zone. The application will facilitate the construction of an addition onto the existing dwelling. The subject lands themselves are approximately 20 hectares in size. They're located at the southeast corner of Walker's Drive in MacArthur Road. The lands contain a single detached dwelling, which is privately serviced, a pool shed, in-ground pool, and a barn. The applicant is proposing to construct a 273.5 square meter addition onto the existing dwelling, which would replace a portion of the structure, but would not include the attached garage, which the applicant is proposing to convert to living space. I do note that the existing dwelling is set back from the front lot line 16.6 meters approximately, whereas the zoning bylaw does require, again, the minimum setback of 30 meters. So the house itself is already deficient in its front yard setback. However, as this proposal is causing a further deficiency, the variance is required. The applicant has advised that the addition must be in the proposed location. So it's set forward about 15 feet from where the house kind of would continue generally. And this is because of the location of the septic tank and bed, which is on the west side of the existing dwelling. Therefore, the addition needs to be pushed forward. We circulated the application based on the requirements of the Planning Act. I received no comments or concerns from any of our agencies, from St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, etc. But I did receive just today a comment from one of our building inspectors saying that they just wanted to ensure that the applicant is aware that if the septic location If the minimum setback requirements cannot be achieved, they may need to relocate their septic system. I'm sure that will all be taken care of at the building permit stage. So I analyzed the application against the 4 tests of minor variance. Primarily, I focused on the fact that, there's plenty of distance. There's still the 12 meters from the front lot line. So there is sufficient distance in terms of sight line and road safety purposes. Additionally, when we look at the setback in the agricultural area being a significant setback of 30 meters, one of the reasons for this is that we want barns and other agricultural buildings to be set back a certain distance so that if a tractor comes off the road that has a wagon or something behind it, it can actually fully exit the roadway before entering into the barn. As this is the house, obviously this is not the case. So my recommendation this evening is approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Robert, do you have anything you'd like to add to the application? Okay. Do any counselors have any questions? Okay, and is there anybody here from the public that wants to speak to the application? Okay, seeing none, then we have the recommendation before us. You've got it on your iPads there, so I won't read through all of the conditions. I'll just read the recommendation that the application for minor variance A03-2024 that requests relief from section 6.2 of the Adelaide Metcalfe zoning bylaw to permit a front yard setback of 12 meters for an addition onto the existing dwelling be granted. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, the second application is also for a minor variance, and it's A04-2024, and I'll turn this over to you again, Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. I'll share my screen once more. Okay, so the next application before committee this evening is for a property that committee will be familiar with, as we did a rezoning of this property not too long ago. So the purpose of this application is to seek relief from the zoning bylaw to permit a setback of 33 meters from the center line of a county road, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum of 38 meters for all structures adjacent to a county road, which is classified as an arterial road, which of course Egremont Drive is. The application will facilitate the construction of a new single detached dwelling, which will actually have access off of Hansford Road. The subject lands themselves are approximately 0.37 hectares, or just under 1 acre in size. They're located on the southeast corner of Hansford Road and Egremont Drive. Hansford, of course, is a township road, Egremont Drive being the county road to which the setback is related to. The lands are currently vacant. The applicants or the previous owners did a rezoning. It was zoned general agriculture prior to the rezoning application, which of course has pretty significant setbacks. It's with the understanding that there's a farm parcel at the minimum of 100 acres. Of course, the setbacks don't really work on these 1 acre properties. Doesn't leave any room for construction of a house. So the applicant or the previous applicants rezoned to rural residential, which do have much more significant reductions to those setbacks, and is more appropriate for just a residential lot. However, there is still the county road to contend with, and that setback being 38 meters. While there is building area on the lot, the applicant is looking for some additional room, and that is to include a home, a future accessory building, and then a future garden suite as well. So the application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. I did not receive any comments or concerns from either our agencies or the public. I analyzed the application based on the 4 tests, and really my opinion was primarily focused on the fact that the county engineer advised of no concerns with the application. He believes that the 33-meter setback is sufficient for future road widening purposes, as well as road safety and sight lines and things of that nature. He also advised that typically you'd want some sort of setback, somewhat significant setback from the county road for noise purposes. However, 33 meters will still be a sufficient distance for that. So my recommendation this evening is approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Manny, do you have anything you'd like to add? No, you're good. Okay, are there any council questions or comments? No? All right. Okay, you've got the reasons to support the application. So we have a recommendation that the application for minor variance A04-2024 that requests relief from section 5.291B of the Adelaide Metcalfe zoning bylaw to permit a setback of 33 meters from the center line of a county road be granted. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Betty Ann McKinnon, seconded by Garrett Kingma. Okay, so that's that. We have a recommendation that the Committee of Adjustment be adjourned at 7:11 p.m. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is our public meeting. Have a good night. Yes, thanks, Manny, for coming. Okay, next up is our public meeting. We have a recommendation that council convene into public meeting at 7:12 p.m. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Erin. I think you're done with us too, are you? Or no, you've still got something else here.
I have one more.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. We missed one. So we're not going into public meeting yet. Oh, we are. Then why is this up here on the agenda? It should be below it.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, we're good. All right, sorry, Erin. Application for zoning bylaw amendment Z09-2024. And that's regarding 9219 Townsend Road, and I'll turn this over to you. Sorry about that, Erin.
No problem at all. Thank you, Mayor Clark. I'll share my last map here. So the last application before, council in this case, is a rezoning application that resulted from a surplus farm dwelling severance that was approved in May of this year. The subject zone change application is looking to rezone the lands to be severed from the general agricultural zone to the surplus dwelling zone, and to rezone the lands to be retained to the agricultural only zone. And again, this will satisfy a condition of consent. I will note that there is a patch of environmental protection area kind of just south of the residential lot here. That is not being proposed to change. That will remain the same. So the subject property, again, is approximately 32 hectares in size. It's located on the south side of Townsend Line between Sexton Road and Wilson Road. The severed lands, being the residential lot, are approximately 0.76 hectares in size and contain an existing single detached dwelling, privately serviced, of course, with individual septic and actually water. I feel like I did this in the last one too. They do have municipal water at this location. The lands contain a Quonset hut as well as a garden shed, which are both used for personal storage purposes. So the application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act, and I received no comments or concerns. I'm satisfied that the rezoning, the two proposed zones, are appropriate for this location. The residential lot meets all of the provisions of the SD zone in terms of setbacks, lot coverage, etc. And they also conform to the Adelaide Metcalfe official plan. The severed lands are proposed, again, to be rezoned to the agricultural only, and which will prohibit future residential uses on the land. And I am satisfied that the rezoning will fulfill the condition of consent B03 2024. And again, the environmental protection zone will remain the same. I have drafted a zoning bylaw for council's consideration this evening, and therefore my recommendation on this application is approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Are there any questions for Erin? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z09-2024 be approved, and you've been provided with the reasons already. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, now we have a recommendation that council adjourn the public meeting at 7:16 p.m. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, upcoming conferences and seminars. The next council meeting for Adelaide Metcalfe Council is on September the 3rd at 7 p.m. And then after that will be September the 16th. So we'll be back to our 2 a month there. Under correspondence, recommended readings, CC number 1, Asaba Bayfield Conservation Authority. CC number 2, the Middlesex County Highlights. CC number 3, Blue Water Recycling Association. CC number 4, the Middlesex London Health Unit. CC number 5, St. Clair Conservation Authority. Thought that was an interesting read. CC number 6, the Ontario Provincial Police, a collective agreement update. Yeah, that was an interesting read too, but it's going to cost us more money, right, Johnny? CC number 7, the Middlesex London Health Unit, reducing alcohol harms, a primer for municipalities. And CC number 8, a thank you note from the Adelaide Metcalfe Optimist Club. And for those that went, it was a great day and the chicken barbecue is always good. Okay, CC number 9, we have a request to support a resolution from Bradford West Gwillimbury regarding Ontario Long Service Medals Resolution. CC number 10, a request to support a resolution from Prince Edward County, an action on accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act. Councillor McKinnon? Okay, is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Kingma, all in favor? And that's carried. And CC number 11, a request to support the resolution from our neighbor, the town of Plimpton, Wyoming, for underserviced cellular communications. I was having some challenges today, so I appreciate that. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so we will receive and file CC number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and we're supporting CC 10 and 11. Okay, next up are our staff reports. We have the rapidly. Oh, I thought we did. Yes, we not? Oh, okay, file and receive as supporter. Mike Brody, thank you. Betty Ann, thank you. Seconder, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, now we're up to the staff reports and we'll do the Rapley Drain early bridge replacement. And Andrew, you're online. I can see you're there. Are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
you can
so
hear me?
we can hear you great. So I'll turn it over to you right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Some background on this bridge. Staff inspected this as early as March of this year and found that the end walls are in poor shape and the overall width is very, very narrow by today's standards. And it's unknown how old the bridge is, but the condition of the culvert, I expected it served most of its lifespan. The estimated cost of the report for a single bridge would likely be around $5,000 to $6,000. Given the history with Street and Associates, who originally engineered the Rapley Drain, and the fact that the project should fall lower than the procurement policy thresholds, requiring an RFQ under the $10,000 amount. Staff are recommending council to appoint the project to Spreet and Associates. And that is the recommendation at this point for a bridge replacement on the Rapley Drain, Lot 11, Concession 5 SCR in the former township of Adelaide under Section 78 of the Drainage Act. And I'm open for questions.
Okay, any questions for Andrew? Okay, seeing none, I won't reread the recommendation. You've nicely read that, Andrew. So do we have a motion to approve that? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon, all in favor, and that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Have a good night. Okay, the next up is the second quarter activity report for 2024 and the fire services review update. And our fire chief is at a different meeting tonight, so we'll turn that over to Morgan Calvert, our CAO.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Clark, and on behalf of you and I guess Chief Parker, I'll deliver the quick and easy second quarter fire department update report. So the fire department continues to focus on the training requirements it needs to meet the OFM's future needs for firefighter training. The fire department was successful in receiving some grant monies for a drone. I think council is well aware of that grant opportunity or that successful grant opportunity. I know our volunteer fire department is very excited to get this thing in the air. A number of them have already received their certifications and training. I know the chief is working to put the program together, everything from insurance requirements to standard operating procedures, and making sure that our firefighters have the appropriate number of hours to use the drone. Once all that happens and the chief is happy and in good shape with the drone program and has some flight hours in real time, he's going to work with some neighboring communities to see whether or not they would like to have access to the drone in terms of probably mutual aid or some other fire services support. The drone will be quite helpful in things like search and rescue, in particular during adverse weather events. The fire department also had another successful boot drive, being about $2,100 donated to Muscular Dystrophy Canada, bringing the total to about $40,000 over 25 years. So that's a pretty big deal in my opinion. In terms of the fire services review and the health and safety gap audit, both he and Coulter continue to work through the various recommendations from both of those reviews as outlined in the report. I'm happy to take any questions. If they're tough, I'll probably save it for the chief. And in the meantime, there's a recommendation there to accept the report for information.
Okay, any questions for Morgan? Councillor McKinnon?
Just kind of a stupid question, but how do they do their time for flying, like their flight time? How is it approved? And
You actually have to have it's a special pilot's license for a drone. Yeah, yep.
I just
Okay.
wondered if, through the mayor to our pretend chief there, are we sending a couple of our guys to help train our neighbors on this, or is that a hands-off thing?
So the way I understand it is we are the owners and operators and certified to use the drone. So probably through a mutual aid agreement, we would be the responding parties to use the drone. So, and I'm pretty sure insurance wouldn't like us offloading operations of the drone to another uninsured party. So I'm almost positive that the chief will send his flight team with the drone to respond to an incident.
Yeah, because there's a licensing piece, so that we want to protect ourselves from an insurance violation there, I would have to say. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we have a recommendation that council receive the second quarter activity report 2024 and fire services review update report for information. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is our operating budget to actual for up to July 2024, and I'll turn it over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. Yeah, so just a kind of standard report for July for operating. We are on pace to the approved budget. Just a couple things to note to council this evening. We did have our first round of supplemental billings posted in July. We did see an increase in revenue of $70,000 from growth-related items. In addition, the township did see some tax reductions, largely due to tax incentive approvals. So those are related to farmland, usually switching from residential back to farm tax class. Usually that switch happens from ownership changes, or if property owners don't submit the documentation on time to Agricorp, they'll switch back to residential. From an expense side, there is just one item there in the roads department. So due to the significant weather events that we've been experiencing, we've had some unexpected culvert replacements, and that amount to 39,000. There is a brief typo in that report. It says 59. My apologies, but it is 39,000 that we've experienced in the year that we did not budget for. So again, it helps having that additional supplemental billing, kind of balances that out a bit. So there is no concern at this time from a budget perspective. The recommendation is to receive the report as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Johnny. Are there any questions? Councillor Kingma?
Through the mayor to Johnny, thanks for putting in all that time to get our supplementals out in decent time. It's really paying off. To Coulter, the culverts blew out. Is there any plan to revisit the engineering? Because I think there's end treatments available that would prevent some of this problem.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kingma. The two culverts that we had some problems with this year were due to the two massive rain events we had, and they were well over 30 years old, these culverts. So we do inspect all our bridges and culverts that are over 3 meters wide. These ones were just under that threshold. So unfortunately, they don't get inspected every 2 years. There are hundreds out there, but we have made a note that we're going to start going road by road and documenting these things all winter in our downtime, and inspecting them, because it is an issue, and we want to get ahead of these things before massive rain events. So.
Okay, thank you, Coulter. And if I might add, it's a hard thing to budget for because we don't know what Mother Nature's going to give us. So yeah, if you can change your inspection plan, that might be, we might be able to get ahead of it, but with climate change, I don't know that that's going to be a bulletproof plan, but I like it. Okay, if there's no other, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Kingma.
Through the mayor to Morgan. Is our payroll project factored into our administrative expenses?
I'll actually rely on Johnny to answer that question. The payroll system, is that built into the min budget? Is how I understand the question.
Correct. No, that's correct. Yeah, it was budgeted for, and it is in administration.
And this project is in progress?
That's correct. We are using part of it right now. We actually pick up in a couple weeks with UKG. Again, it's been a bit of a slower process, but we're chipping away and getting there. So we should have a majority done by the end of the year.
Anything else for Johnny? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the operating budget to actual report for July 2024 be received for information. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, I like the next one. Drain review, construction drain billing. I'll turn this over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira again.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. So this report is outlining the results of the construction drainage review project. So back in 2022, council did direct staff to proceed with reviewing all outstanding drainage works and billing those benefiting property owners. So since late 2022, staff has been thoroughly reviewing the backlog of outstanding drains. There was a total of 175 drain accounts that required review, some of which go back as far as 2012 for construction drains. So each account by year had to be thoroughly analyzed. We had to retrieve all the engineer reports for every drain. We had to retrieve all the invoices of every single expense for every single drain, and then reconstruct the schedules while addressing reconciliation issues within each account. Staff also had to sort expenses for maintenance and construction as well, as they're all lumped into the same drain account. We did work with Spreets as well, who assisted with this process, as they were the engineer for the majority of these drains. So this report does touch on just the construction drains only. Older maintenance drains will be brought forward in the future this year. So the results from this construction drain work, we have 15 construction drains that require billing, 7 of which have never been billed before, which total $151,000. There is also 7 that were billed but require adjustments. Some underbilled, but some overbilled due to some errors in the schedule. So there are some refunds going back to property owners as well. So the goal of this project was to ensure drain billings were correct. There was also one drain that was unbilled through section 40 as the drainage works were not completed. This actually went to council in 2013, but those bills never got sent out. So overall, for the construction side, we have a total billing of $179,234. It is our drain billing and debenture policy applies. If residents would like to debenture their bill, they're more than welcome to do that by reaching out to the township. The instructions will be included on the drain bills. We will include a letter just briefly explaining this process. Yeah, I also want to touch on too, if there were any issues as far as grants or whatnot, every property owner eligible for the grant received the grant. In a future report, I'll bring something forward as far as write-offs, but I didn't want to shortchange any resident. If they earn the grant, they get the grant. And you'll see that in the future as far as anything that was missed from a grant perspective. The township did submit to OMAFRA in 2021. There were a number of missed grants, so the township was successful in that request. We received $250,000 roughly from OMAFRA for those grants. But the recommendation is to receive the reports. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? I just have a comment. I'd like to thank you and your team because it's been a tedious process and you've been working away at it for quite some time. And I think the public needs to understand that, this was missed revenue for the municipality and everybody, even some of us around the table here, we're getting a bill. So it's when you owe, you pay. So, yeah. Okay, we have a recommendation that the drain review, construction drain billing report be received for information. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, our Public Works Manager Coulter Cahill, you're up next for a pre-budget approval, and we're talking tandem snowplow.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. As mentioned tonight, my report is on the pre-budget approval of a snowplow. As council is aware, our snowplows are necessary to maintain our road infrastructure, keeping the township in compliance with minimum maintenance standards during the winter months, and are also essential for our operations during maintenance and construction season. Following the township's asset management plan, the purchase of a new tandem axle was identified in the 5-year capital budget and was scheduled to replace one of our max snow plows in 2025. The tandem axle snowplow is part of the existing fleet on a 15-year replacement cycle, and it will reach the end of its service life in 2025. After going through the process in 2022 and not receiving our snowplow until 2024, it would be in the best interest of the township to pre-approve the purchase of a new tandem snowplow, so staff can work through the procurement process to secure the purchase in September of this year. And hopefully we can utilize the new asset for the winter 2025, 2026. Financial impact. The capital forecast included in 2024 budget identified the replacement of Mac 3 snowplow in 2025 based on the township's asset management plan. The total forecasted amount was $416,000, which staff are recommending be funded through the Life Cycle Management Reserve Fund. My recommendation would be that council approve the pre-budget purchase of a new tandem snowplow. And I'll open up for any questions if there is any. Thank you.
Thank you, Coulter. Are there any questions? Councillor Kingma?
Through the mayor to Coulter, is it likely that we'll be expressing a preference for a Mac with Viking attachments?
Through the procurement process, it is basically going to be very vague so that we aren't identifying one single source. But we will be putting in the tender that we are specifying Viking equipment because we've had great luck with it. We've tried other vendors and haven't had the best luck. So we're still dealing with some issues. So we will be sticking with Viking.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, we have a recommendation that council approve the pre-budget purchase of a new tandem snowplow. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is 7F, the encroachment agreement for liquid manure line on Mullaferry Drive, and I'll turn this over to Public Works Manager Coulter Cahill.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. After holding a public meeting this spring for the road construction project on Mullaferry Drive, township staff was contacted by Mullaferry Dairy Limited requesting permission to install a liquid manure transmission line under Mullaferry Drive. This is between School Road and Seed Road. In order to protect the township's infrastructure, staff have developed standards following Middlesex County standards for the encroachment of the proposed transmission line under Mullaferry Drive. Mullaferry Dairy Limited will also have to apply and obtain from the township a road occupancy permit for the road crossing prior to commencing any work on the township road allowance. And they will have to install the road crossing at the location and elevation specified in the occupancy permit and will comply with any other conditions in the road occupancy permit. Staff does support the owner's request for the installation of a liquid manure transmission line across Mullaferry Drive, subject to the terms and conditions of an encroachment agreement and specified standards. Other than staff time, there were no financial impacts associated with entering into the encroachment agreement. All engineering, construction, and legal costs will be the responsibility of Mullaferry Dairy Limited. And the recommendation tonight is that council enter into an encroachment agreement with Mullaferry Dairy Limited for the installation of a liquid manure transmission line under Mullaferry Drive. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for Coulter? Councillor Nordoff?
Yeah, through the mayor to Coulter, is there not an existing one? Or did they just shove a hose through a culvert?
So, thank you, Councillor Nordoff. Right now, we are experiencing some issues with people just shoving a manure hose through an existing culvert, but going through this process takes most of the liability off of the township and puts it onto the farmer or whoever is doing this. So it's the way to go. Moving forward, we will be cracking down on things like that. So if anybody does want to pump liquid manure across the roads, we are going to require an encroachment agreement. So it's just, I think it's a better process, and it definitely takes the liability off the township.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Counselor Kingma?
Through the mayor to Coulter, I think it's awesome that we can work with people and make it practical for them to do their agricultural functions. I was wondering if this encroachment proposal is going to interfere with any timelines for the county.
Well, thank you, Councillor Kingma. I did work with Middlesex County through this entire basically project because it is a new one for us, and it's not going to interfere with any construction. If they can't install this before paving happens, they will have to bore underneath the road. So they won't be holding up any construction this year at all. I hope that answered your question. All right. Thank you.
So pardon my ignorance, but do they have like an alarm system that'll go on this? Because if they have to be able to shut a pipe down in the event of a spill or a leak in 1 minute, is it like an alarm system like on a sump pump or?
Yeah, there is some sort of a mechanism they do have to install when they actually put their piping through the pipe. I haven't been through the process. I've been leaning on the county for this because they've done it a few times. Again, very new to us, so it will be interesting. But yes, there is a time limit on it.
That's great. I'm glad the county's involved too, because if they've experienced this several times, that helps us out for sure. Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council enter into an encroachment agreement with Mullaferry Dairy Limited for the installation of a liquid manure transmission line under Mullaferry Drive. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, 7G on our agenda is a temporary use zoning bylaw amendment Z082024 and a temporary use agreement, Dieter and Nancy Teed, and that's for a Salisbury property. And I'll turn it over to our clerk, Michael Barnier.
Through the mayor to members of council, I think all council is quite aware of Dieter Teed in this project and the bit of the history of it. We have the agreement and zoning bylaw. I wanted a report to accompany them at the end, so you know what you're approving. We did approve the 3-year temporary use zoning bylaw to allow 2 houses on the property, and there is an accompanying agreement. Just want to note that we do still hold the security from the previous agreement, so we're ready to enter into the agreement with the Teeds, given council's approval. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So as Mike said, I think we're very familiar. We just did this application not that long ago. So there's no questions or further comment. We have a recommendation that council approve zoning bylaw amendment Z082024 and enact an implementing bylaw further that council approve the temporary use agreement and enact the implementing bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the temporary use agreement. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation that council adjourn to closed session at 7:43 PM pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discussing the following matters: a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board 2001. And it's in reference to County Lane. So we will now go into closed. Can we have a mover? Mike Brody, seconder, Councillor Kingma, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.